This is Rockslapping Champions. Player 1, playing Artanis. We have 9. And player 2, playing Nova. We have Syntharius. So let's have a look at the masteries over here while the players get set up. We have a level 646 Artanis, and he has put his points into the Guardian Shell, 10 and 20 split into the Warp Speed, and then all points into the Chrono Boost Mastery. More or less a reasonable set of choices here. Nova has gone for the Griffin Airstrike reduction and the primary ability improvement, and then a 20-10 split into the Nova Energy and the unit HP regen. Again, a very optimal split here for Nova. So the other thing you will notice is that there is a set of mutators active. We have Diffusion and we have Just Die. So this mutation is actually the weekly mutation for this week. I believe it is called Equivalent Exchange, and obviously it is being played on Void Thrashing. So the two mutators we have active are Diffusion and Just Die. So Just Die basically makes enemy units respawn when you kill them, quote unquote, and you have also Diffusion, which we can see the impact over here, is whenever enemy units deal damage, or whenever player units deal damage, the damage is actually split apart. You can see this aura over here from the rock. So the damage that they deal gets spread among all the units in their immediate vicinity, and we can see here that Artanis is using a melee unit to deal some damage to the rocks over here, and these zealots don't really stand a chance because they end up killing themselves in the process. Now we have a warp field here, and now we also have the Spear of Fadoon abilities that get dropped. It ends up instantly killing off Artanis' unit, which is somewhat interesting to note over here. And yeah, we can see here that using zealots to break the rocks with Diffusion active, not the wisest idea of Artanis that Artanis has had in the recent moments here. And now we have the first attack wave that has spawned, and we see here that Nova, again, as you can see, Nova would normally use her Marines to take these rocks over here, but she has to be very careful with how she chooses to engage that, because if the Marines stand too close, the Marines will go the same way as the Zealots that started attacking these rocks. So we'll see what Artanis' plan is over here. Now, if you are wondering, Artanis is probably not the best commander. He has a really nice passive, but not really the best commander for this mutation. You probably want to go for Tempests if you're playing Artanis. Long-range units that will help a lot. And now we have a very decent set of orbital strikes here. And we'll pull up this map because the map actually ends up disappearing when the Spear of Fadoon abilities are used. And unfortunately, also if we switch over to Nova, that'll be the same thing. So we do have now these bunch of Zealots that are staying alive, which is nice. And now they are also going to be sent to try and clear these rocks, because Artanis does want his expansion. You can see here the damage output. He has actually chosen to split these Zealots up now and, you know, take out the rocks on this side. But as you can see, Diffusion makes it very difficult for Artanis to clear, but he's using the melee units as well. Another set of Spear of Fadoon abilities get dropped onto these rocks, and that also ends up killing off that one Zealot on that side. And I think this Zealot might actually have the... yeah, it still has the Guardian Shell ability, and that Zealot ends up evaporating to the damage on the rocks here. It'll make it very difficult. And now Artanis has used his Solar Bombardment and stands his one Zealot right next to the Void Thrasher, and that Dragoon ends up completely evaporating to Void Thrasher damage, to the Solar Bombardment damage, and now he moves the rest of his Zealots in. These Zealots stand no chance against that. No micro as well from Artanis. One of those Dragoons get picked off by the Void Thrashing ability, and now he has warped in another set of Dragoons, and they are standing well within range of Diffusion, and they will be taking some kind of damage over here. Actually, no, that Dragoon is out of range. This Dragoon not being microed back. It's also taking some damage over here. You see here the Nova is standing somewhat out of range, so that should be okay. But Nova is eventually going to get Liberators out if she is playing optimally on this mission. So the Liberators deal an insane amount of damage, and that is how you can end up killing your allies' army if they are not paying attention and they move closer. Finally now, Artanis has realized that Dragoons are the way to go, and now he's able to clean up these rocks without too many issues. And now he will end up taking his expansion. First attack wave has spawned, and remember that there is Just Die available, so that is going to be a bit of a problem. A few orbital strikes come up as well. It takes off the Just Die stacks, and we'll have to try and kill him again. It was still in snipe mode, no assault mode. Okay, there we go. Now we have assault mode Nova. I she's going to be able to deal a lot of damage to these units here with one shotgun blast. And I think more or less seems to be okay. So far, casualties, we have our 8 Zealots and 5 Dragoons. And Artanis has a good amount of production right now at 3 gateways. And Nova's Marines are chilling on this side. Nova's Marines won't really be able to provide a lot of value because they will end up getting picked off. And going for an solo build is also kind of reasonable as a choice here. So we have a Griffin airstrike now that has been dropped onto this side. The Griffin airstrike will take off one of the Just Die stacks because the enemy units will respawn. A little bit easier. Now you can see the aim on cheat over here using a scan out of the non-existent orbital command centers on the map. I don't think there are any orbital command centers. I know it has happened to me even when I've all cleared the map. There's just a random scan that pops up. So yeah, aim on cheats. Artanis has taken up his expansion right now, and we have Nova as well that has almost completely saturated her expansion as well. And now we just have some snipes from the long range over here, just harassing a little bit while Nova macros up. Production-wise, we have, yeah, we're going for the shotgun blast, we're going for a few of the attack upgrades as well, and Artanis is now putting down an extra 4. She's putting down two more gateways, which is interesting. And now Nova has cleared out that enemy camp and is good to go. Again, Nova will have to be really careful. Abilities like Nuke and stuff can end up completely wiping out your allies' army, so you have to be careful. You can see here the defensive drone being very useful for Nova by providing that vision, and also it means that she doesn't have to engage from such a short range over here. And we can see here that Nova will probably end up using a Griffin airstrike to go and try and take that attack wave out, or at least weaken that attack wave a little bit. We have Nova in shotgun mode, and you can just see the damage output here. The more damage output you have and the more of your units that are there, the more damage that gets spread among all the units that are in that vicinity. And I think for Artanis, does he have the singularity charge? Okay, so Artanis has gone for the Dragoon upgrades here. That gives them the range upgrade, which is very useful. Now we have a Seeker missile, and the Dragoons decide to clump up, and they are fighting in the middle of a siege tank line over there. There is no micro onto these Dragoons over here, and there are a lot of Seeker missiles that are going down, taking off. These Dragoons are taking so much damage. Now we have a nuke coming down from Nova, and that nuke goes, I think, there's a good amount of damage. And now we also have a solar bombardment. Artanis will have to stay away from the solar bombardment until it's done, because the solar bombardment can actually end up melting your army through the sheer amount of damage it is. So Artanis decides, you know what, I'm just going to stand in the middle over there and just soak up all the damage, and that is what his units do. A lot of the damage has been dealt now onto these units, and we have a total of 13 Dragoons lost and 8 Zealots so far. And again, no micro from Artanis. He's just eating that damage, and that last shot takes off 3 of the Dragoons and another one falling out as well through just purely the damage output from Nova. Diffusion is active on this map, so a lot of these Dragoons that are standing nearby will end up taking unnecessary amounts of damage, especially since they're attacking very close to melee range. Like, take a look at these Dragoons over here. They are dangerously close to that Void Thrasher. They don't seem to be taking the damage, but it is very close. They have to be really careful about that. And that is that Void Thrasher down. Additionally, also, the other thing to note is that these Void Thrashers will respawn because the Just Die mutator is active. So it is somewhat unfortunate, but it is also inconvenient. But it means the amount of damage that these Void Thrashers have to take, and therefore the damage that they will dish out through diffusion, does make this also a little bit more complicated. And Nova is over here now, and she's getting ready. There is an attack wave that's coming up now on this side, and I think maybe Artanis is going to... Okay, so Artanis has noticed the attack wave. He's going to go... He spreads out his Dragoons a little bit. Decent. He wants to try and get a good concave. Again, really good... That is a good idea. But now, the question is of engagement. He has a very nice concave over here. But these Dragoons now... We have some orbital strikes as well that get dropped onto this attack wave. And these Dragoons are not being focused. They're not focused firing down these siege tanks, and these siege tanks are just shelling away on these Dragoons over here. And a lot of these things have been picked off through the sheer damage output from the siege tanks on the back line. Down goes that Dragoon as well. A total of 24 of those units have been killed off, and now we have another bunch of siege tanks. Now there is a focus fire down onto some of these units, but I think it is a little bit too late. 2 SCVs repairing each other, which is interesting as well. And now we have a bunch of medics that are all alive. And you can see here, see how this Dragoon is taking a little bit of damage, and that is what I mean about diffusion being really nasty. Over here, Nova has cleared out this camp now, and will start to push through, and Artanis is going to start making his way, and getting ready to push into the side again. This area is very tricky. Have to be very careful with how they choose to address this, because one misplay here that could be really bad. So we have another Griffin airstrike coming down for Nova, and now we have a hybrid Dominator with a barrier. Very nice. And Artanis decides to just jump in with a bunch of Dragoons here. He uses his shield overcharge, which is good, but the shield overcharge can only soak up so much damage before it fades away. You can see here the amount of damage output from these Dragoons. Siege tanks on the back line as well, shelling these Dragoons from the back here. And these things are not going to be lasting very long. A lot of Artanis' army gets completely shredded. Now these Dragoons are fighting right next to this Void Thrasher again, which is going to be a little bit of a problem. And I don't even think they might even survive the AoE damage that it casts. And that Hybrid Dominator is going to cast another Plasma Blast on that. Takes off the barrier, the Guardian Shell ability. And now we have another airstrike coming down. Again, Nova is just using the airstrikes to completely weaken the enemy waves and also take off the Just Die stacks, because it will cause those enemies to respawn. Very nice EMP comes down onto the Hybrid Dominator. It now has no more energy to cast on Nova. And unfortunately, there is an Irradiate from one of those science vessels over there. And then attack wave seems to be passing through like ships in the night. And now we have another one again of another airstrike over here. A tactical airlift, and now we have one massive solar bombardment onto the attack wave and ends up killing off Nova's Liberator on that side. And now Nova is on this side just cleaning up this tactical nuke that was coming up on her base. And I think those siege tanks might end up surviving over there, so that is again a little bit of a problem. And that is Artanis. And Artanis is just warping at a few Dragoons. These Zealots over here, they're taking so much damage, and that Zealot is not going to last very long. And there is no micro on any of these Dragoons over here, and that is going to be a huge problem. We also, interestingly, have 6 gateways, which is 3 gateways too much for Artanis. Artanis is a charge-based commander, but each gateway can store 3 warp-in charges. So right now, with the 6 gateways, it means you can warp in 18 units at a time, which, as you can see here, is completely unnecessary because he doesn't really need that much economy. Nevertheless, and also he ends up losing a lot of his Dragoons to the splash damage from these Void Thrashers. So this Void Thrasher is getting so much value. It's taking off the Guardian Shell buffs that these Dragoons have, so the next time they take an engage, they're getting wiped off. I think pretty sure that these Dragoons will also get picked off by the Void Thrasher over here. And there is a few repairs as well on this side, which is interesting. Yeah, so the biomechanical repair drone is just doing so much work right now by keeping Artanis' army alive. And now Nova has warped in another set of Liberators. Total unit losses so far, 59 Dragoons and 11 Zealots. And now there's an Archangel that has also spawned, but these commanders have very rightly decided, you know what, we are not going to do that because that is asking for trouble. And now the next attack wave has spawned. And who is going to go to deal with this attack wave? Nova or Artanis? Who is going to... Okay, so Nova's going to move forward here. I think she's probably going to use a Griffin airstrike to take off one of these Just Die stacks. Here we go. So you can see here all these units now have just respawned from the Just Die, which means now they're pretty much one-shots for Nova. We have a few orbital strikes. Again, very nicely positioned orbital strikes. Does deal a good amount of damage. All that's left now is that one siege tank from the back line, but that will end up getting picked off. Now they're just a bunch of science vessels. They're being really annoying. They'll cast a barrier on each other and try and protect each other, but those will eventually get picked off as well. And since there are not that many biological units for Artanis, because they're all dead, that should be reasonably okay to clean up. Now Nova is going to be using the next sabotage drone on here, and now as you can see here, one of the benefits of the sabotage drone is it provides vision so that you can use your Griffin airstrike. And now Artanis has decided to push in, which is okay, but again, his Dragoons are fighting within melee range of these units, and now Nova is dropping a nuke into position, and Artanis is trying to put a little bit too close. Seeker Missile onto one of these Dragoons as well, and now we have another Seeker Missile and a Void Thrasher attack. And that Void Thrasher actually ends up killing off that Dragoon here. There is no micro, and there is no moving out of range of these abilities here, and these Dragoons are soaking up so much of the damage from Amon's army, and you can't really do that with Diffusion, because Diffusion also deals so much damage. And now Nova is going to siege up those Liberators over here, and this Void Thrasher is going to be melted very quickly. There's another Griffin airstrike that comes down onto the space here, just trying to take off a lot of these units over here. We have another bunch of orbital strikes that have been dropped onto the side. And I think a lot of these Dragoons are getting picked off, and now the one hybrid as well. And remember, these Dragoons are fighting within melee range of this Void Thrasher, so these Dragoons are going to be taking so much damage from Nova's Liberators. And now we also have a Solar Bombardment that is dropped right again in the middle of this, and these Dragoons stand no chance against a bunch of Siege Tanks combined with the Solar Bombardment that has been cast onto this side. Nova's army is again sitting on this side now, and we have the next attack wave that is spawning, but Sergeant Hammer's Fortress is getting very, very dangerously low to dying over here. So we have orbital strikes and another Griffin airstrike to try and take off some of these units here. Nova is sniping these units from the back line. She really does not want to lose her units right now because that could be a loss. There's 700 HP left, and now this attack wave has moved in. Artanis initially had a total of 8 gateways, and those gateways now are not going to last very long. Lots of siege tanks. You can see how terrifying it is. And now there are 2 nukes onto the side to clean up the rest of Artanis' gateways. These probes will end up surviving for a little bit, but 2 nukes are going to be dropping over here. And there we go. So those are all of Artanis' gateways done. 2 Void Thrashers are remaining right now. 600 HP left on Sergeant Hammer's Fortress. Artanis' expansion has been completely cleared. Press F for all those probes that are there. And now this army is right on the doorstep of Artanis. He's cleared out Artanis' Nexus. 2 assemblators are left, and there are a few more structures. These Void Thrashers are very, very low in HP. 500 HP left on Sergeant Hammer's Fortress, and now we have 2 forges and an extractor. 1 Void Thrasher goes down, the other Void Thrasher goes down. 500 HP left, and that is pretty much the rest of these structures done. So there are only 3 structures left for Artanis. That is pretty much the end. Are those science vessels healing those probes? Yeah, I think they're healing those probes, which is odd. See, Artanis is a generous god. But anyway, that is Sergeant Hammer's Fortress saved, and that is GG.